Remember that you must die. This is a truth we all forget sometimes as we get caught up in the constant motion of our daily lives. Thinking about a morbid topic like death can be depressing, but if we view it from a different lens, we can see the beauty that comes from death. The reality of death is what gives the days we live meaning, as each day that passes is a gift that allows us to create meaning and find our purpose. In this video, I'll be discussing Memento Mori and examples of this philosophy within anime. Memento Mori is a Latin phrase that translates to, "Remember you must die." It's symbolic of the impermanent nature of human life, which helps us accept the reality of death. Everyone has died or will die someday, so let's not waste any time on trivial things. A famous painting made by Philippe de Champagny from 1671 displays the three symbolic images of Memento Mori. The hourglass that represents how we move closer to death with each passing second. Our life is fleeting, but this is what gives it meaning. The rose represents the inevitability of death and that we will all decay one day, no matter how strong or beautiful we appear. And the skull represents death, which will one day come for us all. Respectively, they represent time with the hourglass, life with the rose, and death with the skull. Now, let's talk about some examples of Memento Mori in anime. A quick heads up, if you haven't seen these shows, Death Parade, Psalm 100, and Undead Unluck, it may be a good idea to check out those first, because I'll be diving into spoilers and key points from all three shows. But if you don't want to watch it just yet, I will be providing just enough context for you to follow along. Let's start with Death Parade. Decim is an arbiter of the quindecim. From here on out, I'm going to refer to the quindecim as the QD. Following death, two people are sent to the QD, which is a place in between heaven and hell, to have their souls judged. Following judgment, their souls are either sent to the void to be erased from existence, or their souls are sent to be reincarnated into a new body. The two are judged based on their actions during a game that slowly reveals their memories over time. This show delves into the intricacies of human nature as, just like us, all the characters who are judged in the QD have their own hopes, dreams, flaws, and regrets. These are all factors for their judgment. The title for episode 11 is Memento Mori. Throughout the show, Chiyuki, also known as the black-haired lady, has been trying to regain her memories, but has only been able to remember that she is in fact dead. That is until she starts ice skating. This brings back memories of her life and her death from suicide due to the loss of her sense of self following a terrible injury. Decim then gives her a drink named Memento Mori and briefly explains the meaning behind the phrase, telling her to live now. Chiyuki resonates with these words, given the nature of her death, and she surely carries them with her as she is sent to be reincarnated in the last episode. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. This fits perfectly within the theme of Death Parade. The majority of people that we see sent to the QD had their lives cut short unexpectedly. You never truly know when it's going to be your time, so don't waste any time on negatives. Instead, let the inevitability of death inspire you to live your best life today. Who knows if you'll make it till tomorrow? Next, let's look at Psalm 100. After a soul-crushing 3 years of work at an exploitative company, Akira gets a new lease on life after a zombie apocalypse hits Japan. This leads him to making a bucket list of 100 things he wants to do before becoming a zombie. Memento Mori is shown graffitied on a wall during a zombie apocalypse movie Akira was watching during the first episode. This, I believe, is the main message of the show. Akira, after slaving away for all those years, now strives to make every day count, especially since he knows that one day he will die. He also realizes that now is the time to chase his dreams, considering he doesn't know how long he has left, which is a sentiment we all should be more mindful of from time to time. especially when it comes to procrastination or putting things off. Let us prepare our minds as if we come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short on time. Seneca. This helps us combat procrastination, as procrastination requires the belief that you have an abundance of time. And at the end of the day, we don't. There's also an interesting dynamic between Akira and Shizuku. One living to live, while the other lives to survive. We see this with the difference between their two bucket lists. One being things to do to avoid becoming a zombie, versus 100 things to do before becoming a zombie. I view this as two different interpretations of Memento Mori. One side recognizing the reality of death and trying to make the most of the remaining time, and the other side that also sees the reality of death, but instead makes the most of their time by setting themselves up to survive longer. Watching this interaction of ideals blend together is a key part of the earlier section of Zom 100. Lastly, let's look at Undead Unluck. Undead Unluck follows the story of Fuka, who has the ability to negate the luck of anyone that comes into contact with her, causing them misfortune. And Andy, who has the ability to negate his own death, making him immortal. This makes episode 21, which is titled Memento Mori, all the more interesting, as this would be a complicated philosophy to apply to Andy, since he simply cannot die. During this episode, Fuko dives 150 years into the past within Andy's memories to unlock a deeper connection for their combined abilities. Through their journey, we see why this episode is titled Memento Mori. As they progress through the years together, they are forced to say goodbye and bury many friends and acquaintances. Fuko then realizes the pain Andy faces due to his immortality. He will always outlive anyone he becomes close to, which may be a fate worse than death. I believe the main message here is to cherish your loved ones, as their remaining time on this earth is as uncertain as yours is. Reflecting on the inevitability of death is a difficult yet extremely beneficial practice that helps us bring meaning to our lives by putting priority on our actions and time. Let the fact that you will die one day inspire you to start building your life or living the life you want to today. Thank you for watching.